So I think that would be.
Let him have a seat. And
Didn't know if you'd be here deep in drains all day.
I thought I saw Jamie.
He's here, he's just
But I saw
ran
your face,
someplace.
so do I think, am I in the right meeting?
Yeah, I'm the new Brian.
Welcome.
Thanks. You're at the right meeting.
Oh, I had,
Pardon?
I'm looking
You're
at
at the
this
right
one, so, all right, we're good. No,
right.
go there.
I'm
I was
the right
looking at
place
this
There we
at the
go.
right time.
All right.
Good job.
All right, everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and call to order. If everybody would, will you please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
With that, John, you want to do roll call, or?
I will happy to do so.
Sure.
Commissioner Kipler.
I am here.
Commissioner Ettinger.
Here.
Commissioner Jeter is absent this evening. Commissioner Provo.
Here.
Commissioner Botveld.
Here.
Hey there, Callahan.
He was
Where
here.
was he?
He was here.
Where'd he go?
I think he just stepped out briefly. Yeah.
He's
I think
back.
he's,
I think we can all vouch he's here.
Here somewhere. I just realized that.
Jamie's here.
All right.
Right here.
Commissioner
We
Callahan?
thought we saw you.
All right, there we go. Commissioner Smits?
Present.
Commissioner Underwood? Here. And Commissioner Walter?
Here.
All right, with that, first public comment, welcome.
Andrew?
Andrew is here. You've got the press, or the special presentation, so we'll wait. If we can start with, we're going to skip first public comment and start with approval of the agenda or any additions to. Anybody?
I do just have one edit.
Okay,
So we continue to have challenges with this, this system. Commissioner Botville recognized that when he joined in, where we just couldn't quite seem to get all the names to line up correctly.
Yep.
So my apologies to Commissioner Walter. We still have Commissioner McAllister's name on here, so we will change that to Commissioner Walter, and we will try again. 'Cause we change it, and like, all right, everything looks great, and then it doesn't. And I can't figure out why it
Oh,
doesn't.
fun times.
It doesn't.
There are some other issues I've heard with this whole system, so,
Yes.
yeah.
So the only change that I have is just to correct the names.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
motion by Provo. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Popdo. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, we're ready to go. Special orders of business presentations, there we go.
Andrew McDonald is joining us this evening. Andrew is with Blue Water Promotions. So most of the shows that you see that are being produced at Howe Arena are Andrew and his team's work. So he joined us today to give us a synopsis of how this season has gone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and nice to see all of you again. So yes, we did pick up the Senior Expo this year. It had waned for 5 years, and you know, these can be political environments, and so I had made some calls to some people that I knew were kind of involved and said, do you have plans? And they were kind of on the fence because, you know, it's a little bit of work to produce a consumer event. That's, and so they, at any rate, we were able to make the connections. We had a little date situation that we were able to work out with roller derby girls, and that opened that up, which I was surprised because I didn't realize all of the nonprofit involvement in that particular event, but it's pretty significant and actually pretty important. And of course, we do offer a nonprofit rate. We extended that to those folks. But it went quite well. I got good reports. We had a few extra sandwiches that we had made, and the good news there is that is it Safe Harbor?
Safe Harbor, yeah.
John made a call. We took him to Safe Harbor, so none of them went to waste.
Awesome.
So that was a really kind of a good thing. So we're planning on doing that next year again. Not the sandwiches, but the the event. We, you know, working with John and Kara and the staff and Scott and Ariel, I mean, Joe, Ross, I mean, been there a while now, and for us, it's really working well because we have these relationships. We're not new. They know us, we know them, and so it's going quite well. You know, I always on the boat show side, because and I've mentioned this maybe before to this body, I mean, the Traverse City Boat Show, I think because Traverse City kind of has that magic behind it, right? So it's a big event, and we could fill 2 of those. And I know that's probably not going to happen, and I understand, and I'm not here advocating for that. I just want you guys to understand the market dynamics, that would be filled. I'm sure the same would be for the RV show. We don't produce that. But it's gone very well. We're quite happy, and we just want to continue.
Andrew's been very creative with using external space. So you'll see that boats, for example, you're finding boats outside in some creative spaces and being able to use that to be able to draw more visibility, but then be able to extend the show.
Yeah, the traffic on that street, I don't know if, I'm sure some of you may have seen traffic studies, but you know, that's an incredible amount of I think it's 5,500, I'm not sure.
Probably more like 55,000.
Okay, 55,000. Okay, I lost a 0 or 2 in there. But, you know, that's a lot of eyeballs. That's a lot of value. I mean, that is prime property that the county owns, prime. And I know I've mentioned to John what I pay for the electronic billboards, which are, you know, a mile down the road, and it's pretty handsome. And I've always, John and I think kind of unofficially talked, hopefully I'm not, you know, that if there ever was an opportunity to put some kind of an electronic board there, wow, I mean, that would, number one, be great for us. Number two, I think it would be a revenue opportunity for the county. And when we did this, we used to rent the Birch Run Expo before it was sold to Camping World. And they have one of those on I-75. And they had an interesting program. They gave us, like, I don't know, 4 months free, but then 2 months, you know, prior to the event, we paid. And it was worth it. So I just think, I know you don't want to get into the advertising business. I get that. But I also think you should realize the value of what you have. And that has worked out well for us. Putting boats and RVs out there, boats, we don't do the RV show. We'd like to do the RV show. But it's worked well, and we've done some on the front, and we've done some, like on the sidewalk and on the Front Street side. We did buy some signs that we ran on a yearly basis. When I talked to my staff, I thought, you know, this is just a good fit. I mean, we are producing these shows. Yeah, it's Little League and stuff, but it's good. So that's kind of a public relations thing, but we're going to continue to do that. So any questions for me, or? Yes, sir.
Yeah, quite a few here. Looking here, is there any show that you would like to do or really bring here that you can't right now, just maybe due to infrastructure limitations at the Civic Center space?
You know, I would say probably not, although I will mention the Hunting and Fishing Expo. What's happened there in the state, and they've all dried up. The gentleman and his wife that did Hunting Time in Grand Rapids, which was a huge show. I mean, 360 booths. I mean, I think he was charging $700 a booth. Do the math. I mean, it was to the moon for them. That went away. We produced one at Birch Run. That went away. Jim Liska, who was here, produced it for years. That went away. Field and Stream, the magazine, did one in Lansing. That went away. So there really is a call for it, although the downside of that is that hunting and fishing licenses continue to go this way. But it's still a market. Now, I know that Ellison Place, Kevin Johnson owns that, that's privately owned. He's trying to do one of those. But there's no doubt that's an opportunity. One of the things is dates, although there's been a few more dates available, which has been great for us. But if someone came along and had the gumption, that would work. Traverse City.
I think, too, one of the limitations maybe of the space when I think of dedicated event centers is parking. How do you feel about the parking situation and how it affects your show attendance and ability to host the shows at the Civic Center?
Well, it does. It hurts a little bit. However, you know, John's attacked it, I think, as best he can. He paved over the area near the amphitheater. And well, some people park and walk there, you know.
Yeah.
He's also been very helpful to us because he'll take, if he has a grassy area, he'll allow us and specifically let our vendors park there. So that's been helpful. I don't know how much more can be done, to be honest with you. I think he's maxed it out. You know, I mean, unless you sacrifice something, and I don't see that, you know, to put more blacktop down, but
Not very park, yeah.
yeah. I mean, if anything happened, we'd love to see, I know Center Ice would love to see another Civic Center.
Let's talk about, too, still on our master plan is a second ice space, essentially. Who knows when or if we will ever find ourselves in the opportunity to build that. If you could provide just a few things what you would actually look for as a showrunner in that space, what would that be?
Well, that would be huge because then we'd have 38,000 square feet, which is a pretty good amount. Birch Run, for example, was 60,000 square feet. Now, we're trying to do a big boy toy show in Detroit, which is a big situation for us. We may not be able to make it go, but we're giving it everything we got. That's 62,000 square feet. We're 19. And, you know, when the new bleachers went in, and this was just a comedy of errors, okay? But when the new bleachers, and they were gifted, I'm sure you guys are probably involved in, they were 7 feet wider when they were pushed in. So we lost 7 times, is it 190, the length of that? We lost a lot of square footage there, you know, but it was just unforeseen. But I do think that Traverse City, if you look at it, see, Governor's Hall, they approach it differently. Governor's Hall, that's 26,000 square feet. Pre-function is 5,000 square feet. So that's pretty good space, especially when you put the ballrooms together. But they don't want consumer events. They want conventions. They want, so they're never going to roll out the red carpet for us. The HBA does their show there. I think they probably have a little political clout because they're the HBA. And so they do that, and that's worked well. But if you'll note, that's about the only consumer event at that venue. So what I hear a lot from exhibitors or Art Craft Display even, and, you know, Art Craft, I mean, you know, these guys, all they do is set up shows. We have a very strong relationship with them. It's not uncommon to have it said, why doesn't Traverse City have a bigger facility? It has almost everything else. Why doesn't it? And my response always is, they're a lot to heat, they're a lot to cool, they're a lot to maintain. And, you know, it almost does, it almost does take someone willing to say, yeah, we'll subsidize it. I was asking one of the guys I know at Art Craft, and I said, no, because he worked at DeVos, or set up shows. I said, you know, I know DeVos has to cash flow. He's like, I don't think so. You know, these big facilities don't cash flow. Now, maybe the big ones, maybe Madison Square Garden does, you know. But I know Ellison Place, I don't think he's losing money, but I don't think he's making a lot. So it almost would take someone to say, okay, we're going to build this, whether it was this body or someone else coming along saying, okay, we've got X amount of extra money. We're going to do this for our town because we think it's needed. So,
Final question from me for you, Andrew. What was your total attendance, both in terms of vendors and through the door attendance?
so attendance is harder and harder every year,
If you had
every
to
year.
guess.
And I think that's because there's just so many things for people to do,
Mhm.
you know, starting with their phone. You know, I mean, here's the entertainment right here. So, you know, the Lake and Cottage show, we used to do over, 2,000 people. You know, now we're going to be 12 to 1,300. The boat show, the same thing. We used to be over 2,000. Now we're going to be in that same range. I know that's happened to, I think, most people in my position. It's just, it's harder to get people's attention. Although I think consumer events are in fine shape because even though there is the internet and even though we can go look at that boat we want, people still want to see, touch, feel. And I don't think that's ever going to change, no matter what is invented. So, in that vantage point, we have a little security for the future. But you know what? We're doing the best we can. You know what? We got 19,000 square feet. We're maxing it out. It's working, and so, we're happy. I mean, if another facility came along, it's not going to. I think if it comes along, it's going to be from Grand Traverse County, or the city, or some collaboration.
Thanks, Andrew.
Are you finding the guests that are coming, are they more ready to buy?
They are, and that's a great question. And we do a lot of social media, big time. We target it. Like, if we get Long Lake Marina, I'll say to Paul, hey, what's your hot seller? What's that? He'll give it to me. I'll go find the best images that I can. I'll put that on there. We geo-fence it. We're going to send that to as many, prospects. And we put money on it. I mean, we boost it. We don't just say, oh, here it is. No, we put money on it. And we try to disguise it like it's not an ad. We're trying to fool the public. And so, yes, the people who are coming through are more qualified. We're getting less, but they're more qualified. I hear a lot, especially at the Lake and Cottage show, Andrew, high closing ratio. It's a very high closing ratio show. Now, that might be because we're in Traverse City. Maybe it's a little bit because of our marketing, and thank goodness because, when they compare us to Grand Rapids or Detroit, and they do compare us because there's just, they have, 10, 15, 20,000 people going through. So when we say 1,500, they go, what? What do you mean? So we always have to overcome that, and we always say, hey, don't confuse quantity with quality. And it's worked. But, yeah, I think they are more qualified, John.
Andrew, I do appreciate, I also sit on the advisory council with the Area Agency on Aging. And so we did learn of the senior event, the expo, and that had not happened for quite some time. And so it was very well received within that community. And MCAA, of course, Meals on Wheels, they were participants. So the feedback that we received from that council, from the individuals who had been at the fair, were very positive. They were very happy with the attendance level, and to some extent a bit surprised because there had been such a length of time between the last fair and this one. So kudos to you for working to organize that.
Thank you.
How can we, that's the advisory council. We're always looking for advocacy means. How can the organization like the Area Agency on Aging, that advisory council, how can we help support that event to continue to grow it and ensure it's in place? What have you learned from, your work in building that event back? My side, very positive. So how can we work?
The big thing is that nonprofit, and you have to
Right.
take care of those nonprofits.
Yep.
Now our rates are going to go up a little bit because I just follow our policy for those shows. We might get 2 or 3 nonprofits, so we did 50% of the rate. Well, I think we had 35 nonprofits. I was counting on about 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have to get a little bit more money for those booths, but I just think, I guess, you know, I want to say referring us or, you know, letting us know. Now, the one thing that happened with that show, you know, Leelanau has their little, and then, you know, they all have these senior expos, Kalkaska. In fact, the Kalkaska person called me and wants me to advise them on media.
Yeah.
I said, I'll be happy to do it. But what I'd like to do is I'd really like to build a regional senior expo. Yes, we call it Traverse City, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we market, you know, we're on TV, we're on radio, we're doing social media. We're not just promoting in Grand Traverse County. So if that event could continue to draw more people, and I said to him, still do your senior expo. You want to do one in Leelanau County? Fine. But you know, turn away from this opportunity, because you know what? Some people from Leelanau County are going to be walking through, and you ought to be there. So that was one thing that I was not able to overcome. But they probably thought, oh, you know, who's this? They're new, and so on and so forth. So that would help us a little bit. I have more space. We had to close a bunch of booths because we had 127 booths set up for that show.
Yeah.
The Lake and Cottage show, we do 137.
Wow.
And I don't know how many we filled. It was, I think, maybe 80. So we have room to grow. But we're going to do a theme next year. I have tentative plans to do a photo booth.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be great for guests as well as exhibitors. You know, lighten the moment a little bit, you know, make it fun. And I mean, and we're going to pay for the photo booth. It's not going to be you pay $5, you know, here's your photo, you know. So we're kind of excited about that, because I think that will put a little more, not that we needed Spirit, because there was just a ton of people coming through, but I think it'll just make it a better event and maybe something they'll remember, and then they're going to take the picture home, you know, so.
I think I'll just add to that, it was tough. I serve on the Area Agency on Aging and the Commission on Aging boards as well. And it was tough this year because a new one came into the market like 2 weeks before. Or
Out of
a
Troy,
month
that's an
before.
outfit that kind
It
of
was
dots
the
them all
Be
over.
Well Traverse City Senior Expo.
Yep,
And then the TC Senior Expo was like a month or 5 weeks later, looks
Right.
like April 6th and then May 13th. And so a lot of our seniors were confused because they knew this one, right? And then
Right.
they were like, but there's this. And I think also the different organizations couldn't staff both,
sure.
right? So there was some confusion, and that's no criticism, or it was just an element that happened this year, and I'm
It
not
was,
sure.
and we were surprised, because,
Yeah.
you know, they weren't around, then all of a sudden,
Right.
they were.
Yeah, we were
Um,
like, wait, who, what?
Yeah, so, you know, I think some of that, let the marketplace play
Yeah.
out. They were 3 hours, you know, they were 10 to 1. A little more limited, you know, and at the
Right.
Haggerty Center, you can only get, I think you get 50 booths in there, and you got real parking problems there. So I think that they did, I think, 18 of these in the state.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They do them all over. But you know what? If they come again, let the market, you know, play out.
Any other comments, questions? Andrew, thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you very much. It's a big part of, it's the biggest part of what we do. So, I mean, our relationship is extremely important. And I do want to say, you know, that snowstorm that we had from the TC Boat Show, which, you were downstate, weren't you?
I think
You were-
so,
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got these boat dealers staring at me saying, you think we're going to get these boats out tonight? I'm like, probably not, but let me call my contact. So we had that conversation Sunday. We had the same one Monday. We had the same one Tuesday,
Yeah.
because it took that long to dig out but John was very accommodating on that, and that was very helpful to us. And I have to say, a huge relief to the dealers, because they get concerned, you know, they'll have a team of drivers, right? And they'll have maybe 4 or 5 drivers, you know, and they're going down the road. I mean, some of these guys are young men, right? And so they get concerned about that. So that was huge help to us, and thanks, John, for doing that, because
When you've got a few $1 million of inventory on icy roads.
it was a little scary, so. But thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Take care.
And if I could just say, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you and your team, with Amy. You're all well organized. We really appreciate the support that you provide to the parks as well. You work well with Roller Derby. You mentioned them. You're always very supportive of Hangries and helping make sure that they're involved in the process. So thank you very much for all that you do.
Absolutely, and likewise back.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. With that, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. And, John, we only got one item.
We do. So the purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such request will automatically be respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. One item, under approvals, minutes of the regular meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission of May 14, 2026.
I have a correction. I wasn't here. It says I was present.
That was my correction too. There's several people who were not here.
Yeah.
I was at a road
So
commission
we
meeting.
don't think we need to remove it.
Yeah.
Thank
Don't
you,
need to remove it,
iCompass.
Make a revision.
Joe, Charlie, Andy, and Jamie were all not here at that, at last month's, I guess, yeah, last month's meeting.
One moment.
Oh, sure. Well, motion to approve as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes, John, with the
All right.
corrections that we've got.
Yes, thank you, iCompass.
Awesome. With that, we're going to move on down to reports. And we're going to start with the budget report, John.
All right, so a few items to point out in our budget report. Under revenue, charges for services, that continues to be a highlight for us. That is electric drops at Howe Arena is a big part of that. And you'll also notice that in that same area, you'll find that particular, actually that one, if you look a little later down in one of the later columns, what is that? Year, I believe it is. It shows a negative number, so it shows negative 79.75. You'll also see that on one of the others just below that. I can't recall which one it is at the moment. It shows those numbers because there was nothing budgeted in that, so that's revenue that's
Coming in, but
additional, yes. And then you'll also see contributions. You'll see $835 under contributions. That's funding from our silent auction, just took a delayed appearance with that one. Management rent, so you'll see a larger than normal number in there for the month of May, 14,123. 10,000 of that was River Outfitters, so they make their annual payments to us. And then we had rents at 46,401. So again, a larger number there. Again, that's courtesy of Andrew and all the other shows. So it's again, welcome to show season. We've got one more running this weekend, and that is the Master Spas show. So that'll start tomorrow and then run Saturday, Sunday. So that's, pardon me, that's highlights on the revenue side. A couple of things to just point out in the expenditure side. So building repairs, so you continue to see a number appearing there, in this case 3181. And that's just for Camp Greilich and continued work that we're doing on the cabins there. And then contract services, 1904. That's comprised mostly of the dock installation for Power Island and then porta potty maintenance. And then you'll see a fairly sizable number on under grounds care and maintenance, and most of that is $24,670 for shade structures that we'll be installing in the fall.
Great.
As a partnership project with Dream Team. So continuing
That's
that
right.
that project on fields 2 and 3. So And those are the highlights.
Thanks, John.
You're
Great.
welcome.
Any questions for John on that? All right. We'll move on down. Strategic Planning Committee. Jamie, I don't think we had a meeting.
We did not meet this past month or last week, so I do not have a report this month.
Okay. Rules Committee?
Rules Committee has not had a meet
Had a
between
meeting.
meetings here, yep.
Okay. Natural Education Reserve Advisory Committee Representative. Joe?
Our next meeting's in August, so.
Yes. Last one was April, so we did not have one at this time.
Okay. Back to Jalen, T-Bay's representative.
Yeah.
I know you got some words here.
I certainly have a few. So T-Bays, they did have their tournament in between our most recent meetings. Their 311 teams went through the tournament this year. They did have both locations of Keystone Soccer Complex as well as the TC Bulldogs field utilized this year again. That has worked well for them in previous years and continues to be the approach they take generally when they have over 300 teams, just so that they don't have any concerns about spacing issues. Allows a little bit better field usage as well within the Keystone Soccer Complex. So I anticipate when they have this high number of teams, they'll continue to take that approach. They also have spread it out over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that has kind of reduced some of the traffic in the park as well. More importantly, they did have a couple incidents in the park this year, to be expected when you have a tournament. There were two medical incidents that occurred. One was a player had an anaphylactic reaction, which was very severe apparently, this one, and needed to be taken away by ambulance to Muncie Medical Center. The other being that there was a head and skull brain injury nearly at the exact same time that the ambulance was also called for and provided support for removing that injured player from the tournament as well. Reason why I'm really bringing this up is because we've talked about previously what does emergency response look like in that park. You know, they have emergency response plans in the park. We've asked them previously to work with the Grand Traverse County Emergency Management resources, and they have done that previously as well to be ready for these types of events. More importantly, we heard previously here at this very committee that Grand Traverse Metro had concerns about turning radius as well as being able to access the fields. GT Metro was there. They did provide the emergency response. They had no problems turning around, and they did drive on the fields, and they did not cause damage to the fields while driving over the fields. I think that's important for us to consider because these were criticisms that we had heard from GT Metro previously about the potential layout. We'll also be engaging with T-Bays after the second tournament this year, so following September generally, to meet with them to really flesh out the site plan a little bit more at the location there. That's something that we've wanting to do with them, and they've agreed that this year we'll be sitting down and really formalizing that. That will involve discussions with GT Metro, likely our emergency management, as well as the sheriff's office. But these were things that we had concerns about previously, and they were directly addressed as a result of these emergency incidents. They said overall that they felt parking went fairly smoothly in there. They did hire two of the Grand Traverse County deputies to provide parking assistance. I know a sergeant also was on site periodically as well, providing resources to the event. So that has been a big gain for them to reduce the parking incidences there. There was no permanent parking along the railroad tracks, which is something we've been previously concerned about. Periodically, somebody would park there, and the sheriff's office would tell them to move, and they would do so. They have felt confident about the parking situation this year. There were a couple incidents outside their control. At one point, a car broke down in the roundabout on Keystone Road there and Cass, which did limit the flow of traffic in and out of the park significantly because that happened, of course, right at the same time the emergency response was happening in the park. Can't control much of that. That was about the only major concern that they had. I've asked John to connect with Sheriff's Office officials here just to get their opinion as well on how things went in the park. Overall, I think we're trending in a really positive direction, and I think given what we know from this most recent response, that'll help us in our future conversations with GT Metro. John, anything further you'd like to add to that?
No, I think you've captured it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Certainly have. Welcome any comments on that I could share with TVAs as well.
Well, any discussion, maybe the road commission has something to say about the fall, so there's a September tournament coming up.
Yes, that's right.
And with Beitner Bridge most likely still out
Certainly.
then, I'm sure they're, I'm sure
It will
there's-
be out. this
Yeah,
It will be
right.
out, right?
Right, it's not been built over.
I want to talk about that, but yeah.
I will note,
I
that
was-
one's a lot smaller.
That's my
though, too.
assumption.
You're an optimist.
Yeah. So just curious to know, you know, it's always crazy down there at those tournament weekends, and then
It is.
without that south egress, I'm just wondering what the plans are or thoughts are related to that.
Yeah, I know that's something that they were definitely prepared for this time as well, naturally. I believe they had conversations with the road commission as well as MDOT about proper traffic flow and just making sure they got the word out appropriately. I didn't hear any direct concerns about Beitner being out that felt like they impacted their ability to have a safe and effective tournament that day. Welcome if you heard anything, Joe.
I haven't heard any negatives.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they do have some exits.
Mhm.
If you want to go south towards Kingsley, you can go down across Hoke Road into Garfield,
Mhm.
instead of River Road, or still River Road too. So there are two ways to get that way. I'm going to talk about the Hartman light is working. It appears to be working correctly as we hoped. That's the best way we can relieve it. I mean,
Yeah, what else
until
can
we
you
get
do?
it back up,
Yeah.
that's just where we're at. So you always just got to be patient.
Yeah.
Like I said, the light at Hartman is helping tremendously.
Any other comments on that?
Yeah.
Awesome,
All right,
Jalen.
thank you.
Thank you. Joe, you're up next, Road
All
Commission
right.
representative.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for their patience. Since that there's snow and the rain incident, there was something like 150 or so, what I'm going to call incidences that had to be checked, fixed, made sure that it's okay to drive across the road. So the Road Commission has been extremely busy. The crews have been out working tirelessly, and we appreciate that very, very much. So let's talk about the boardman. Wasn't here last meeting because we were doing a special meeting. So the Brown Bridge culverts are back open, are fixed and back open again. But that led us to a discussion, and you're going to see us in the future. Look, there are 3 crossings that still have culverts. We would actually like to go through and remove all the culverts and put bridges in those 3 areas. But then we have to plan that ahead and get it going. And if appropriate places, maybe we can put in wooden bridges in some of the more appropriate places that might be small enough to do that. So we are looking at, in the future, taking out all the culverts all the way up the road. That'll help the river flow more freely. I'm sure that the drain commissioner can talk to that. But we'll see where we get with that. Just planning that out. As we move down, the same meeting, we also authorized the removal of the damage from the culverts at Beitner. They were scheduled to come out later this year, obviously. So we went ahead and removed that so that that waterway could be open for the summer. We still, in conjunction with the county, advise people not to go through that area yet because there's still some extreme damage, especially to the banks. I can let John might be able to talk more to that. But some of those areas, they lost a good 3, 5, 6 feet of earth.
Or more.
Or more. So I'm don't know if that's all been checked yet or not as far as the banking outside of our prairie. So just be careful in that area. And then I will circle back on the park at Beitner. We are looking at ways to have the new driveway entrances put in. I know John had a meeting today. I was not able to attend that meeting, but we're looking at how to do that. The best way to engineer that, I guess, is a good way to say it, so that those new driveways can be in place by the end of summer, fall, and then people can get used to coming in those other 2 ways as the bridge gets finished. The bridge itself, I was told by engineering Tuesday night that we did actually, MDOT is going to allow us to do the July bidding for that process. When you build a bridge, it isn't the road commission asks for the bridge, we do the engineering stuff goes down to Lansing, MDOT approves the engineering, MDOT then lets that contract to the contractor. The contractor then has to order. So we've actually asked MDOT if we can do some very unique things. Once they approve the design, like the I-beam, the structure underneath won't change. So we've actually asked, can we just order those ourselves and the contractor, then they can be ordered when the contractor, I don't know if we've gotten a response back from MDOT yet. That would cut off a significant amount of time to build this bridge. So our goal, I know it was stated publicly once, is to try to get it back open by the 15th of November. Part of that has to do with asphalt, because if we can't get it done before the asphalt plant shut down, we then have to use concrete, which increases the cost. So that is our hope plan for Beitner. So we know that it's a problem. We want to get it open as soon as possible. It was the worst way for it to happen, I believe, because it circumvented our plans and how we were going to do everything. And I know that emergency response had to immediately change. We were working with them already on how they were going to do calls when the bridge went out, but they had to take that preliminary plan and put it into action right away. So we appreciate their work too. Moving further down the river, we'll come to South Airport. We actually set up, and the county was very gracious and said, yeah, that's a good way to do this. We set up a steering committee for South Airport. We have our chairman, Lehman, Hyder Chasm from our group, Scott Seifert, TJ Andrews. There are two people from the Garfield Township, and I'm sorry, I can't remember their names, and the drain commissioner.
Joe McManus and Denise Schmuckel.
All right, Joe McManus, and then they're going to put together what we call a steering committee, and they have a year to look at that crossing. And the county's had great success with working with the community on their Alpha project and on the jail project coming. So we're using that model to work with the community to talk about what should South Airport look like when we're done. And that includes all users. I know that in the past there's been a great desire to have the ability for pedestrian and trails to go through there. So how does that integrate in with what we need to do to fix that so that we don't have any potential problems in the future? So hopefully within a year, the steering committee will get some consensus and we can get some designs going and get that whole area fixed so that all the users can use that area and it won't be subject to another emergency issue like we had. So I know people were like, well, there's no water, why can't we drive on it? Well, we had to make sure that the substructure was still in place, kind of like the banks, and stay off the banks until we know it's there. And again, we appreciate everybody's patience with that. So we're hoping in the future that we can get that fixed. The county itself will be a very important part. Road commissions are not allowed to bond money, so whatever that comes up with, the county is our bonding authority. We can still use transportation fund money to pay for it, but they actually have to let that bid. So there's a whole process that goes on there. So let's see, what else? The Hartman Bridge, the Hartman Light we talked about. We had some criticism that it took us a month or so to get that up, but in actuality, that is blazingly fast to put a light on a MDOT road. Again, for the public, you can't just put a light in. You have to show where it has to go. You have to find out everything that's underground. You have to put posts in. You have to get electricity to it. And in that particular situation, we obviously paid for it. We repurposed the lights that we took off of West Senior High, rebuilt them, repurposed them to put them up there. But then after that, we have to give them over to MDOT to integrate into their system, because their system, well, we have two systems. We have the county system and the MDOT system. They don't talk directly to each other, but they feed off each other, if that makes sense. So the computers can tell traffic flow based on the other one, and that all had to be coordinated. So kudos to MDOT for helping us get that done as quickly as possible. It's my understanding the accidents, even though we had one the first day the light went live, have significantly decreased in that area. So that's a fantastic thing. So what else we got going on?
Not much going on with you guys.
Yeah, this is one where you're going to get a lot. The MDOT did approve our transportation fund mapping fund. We call it Act 51, but it's a transportation fund. We have to certify roadways throughout the county on how we get paid. They did accept it. We did change it a little bit. We've added some roadway move some roadway that isn't really primary to primary. This all has to do with our primary roads, the majority of where people traffic goes from. This summer, the safe route to schools will still be being built over at 3 Mile and Potter. I believe also that the Tart Trail is putting their section at the same
3 Mile
time.
Hammond or Potter?
3 Mile and Potter, or 3 Mile and Hammond, I misspoke, sorry about that. So construction will happen. I'm gonna warn everybody that we did a support a 35-mile-an-hour school zone through there, so I would anticipate by next fall, you're gonna have flashing lights with 35-mile-an-hour zones, Hammond and 3 Mile, so heads up on that one. We're gonna start approving our projects. I believe our next meeting here in a couple weeks. Hammond Road gets done from Town Line up to Carlisle area. We're gonna widen that, smooth it out, fix it up, also in conjunction with the other two projects. Frankie Road is still on our schedule to hopefully get done. We did have to kind of juggle because of what happened. We were originally going to do Cass Road this summer. We are not doing Cass Road this summer, obviously, because of Beitner, so we're moving projects around. We got a new engineer in. We hired a new engineer, came out of Ingham County. Other than that, it's just been, maintenance. We ordered blades for winter already, so.
Good enough.
So that's where we're at. We do appreciate everybody's patience because people get very impatient when it comes to roadways, and if we suspect there's a soft spot under a road, we have to check it before we can let people go across it, because it's self-explanatory to me, so.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for all the consideration at Beitner and for the parks side of that, and helping everybody working together to keep that park and keep access to it. So thank you.
Question for you here, Joe. I've heard that one of the ideas around South Airport Road there would be potentially being raised a little bit more in in Logan's Landing area. Does that change how we have to think about in the far future strategically about how to get into Medalley Park? Do you think is that something we should be thinking of?
I don't want to speak for the steering committee, but
Sure.
they know that part of the answer is to raise the road.
Yeah.
How it gets raised is part of what they're going to figure out.
Okay, is that something we should be prepared for when we're thinking of the physical location of Medalley Park?
As a road commission, we have to guarantee access back into those facilities.
appreciate
So
that.
that will happen. And like I said, there's great interest to allow pedestrians to pass
Okay.
under the road, through the road. However, I would anticipate, without putting anything out forward,
course.
that it will get raised somehow, whether it's a bridge, whether it's banks, I have no idea. That's what the steering committee is going to come up with.
Okay, thanks.
And we're also working with this guy on a lot of other issues, but
sure.
he's probably going to want to talk about the peninsula and other places, so.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe, again, and Drain Commission. Andy, go ahead and give us the updates, how the Drain
much to
Commission's
report
working with
here.
our parks.
Yeah, nothing going on.
Not
Nothing
much
going
going on
on.
with you.
Yeah.
Things dried out, people went back to work. I'm just kidding. No, there's still emergency response work going on. There's still damage from flooding, and there's no staff, so I get done what I get done in a day and go from there. Been a few invitations to help other agencies within the county and individual townships, and doing what I can to support them. In the strict role of a drain commissioner under the drain code, each of the drainage districts in the county is going through a review process with the exception of two of them, for the first time in 30 or 40 years, to determine whether or not their boundaries for the drainage districts are accurate or appropriate. And that's a precursor toward a future assessment process. When the boundary is determined, then the universe of participants is known, and then their benefits can be ascertained or described within that district, and then appropriately the the cost of those benefits allocated individually within the district. So in most cases, that hasn't been done since the 80s. And there's been a lot of land divisions, a lot of resculpting of land, and culverts added, roads redirected. So it all needs to be updated. And hopefully that is done this year, so that next year the necessary maintenance can be performed. One of the consequences, if you didn't know, the drain code is not a county-funded function. The office is, but the actual maintenance and operation and administration of each drainage district is funded by the participants in the district, much like a cable subscription or paying for water or sewer if you live in the city or in a township that provides that. It's by subscription. You pay as you go. So if maintenance is needed, a fund has to be created to perform that, and it's done through borrowing. If there's no fund balance to perform the necessary work, and if there is funding available, it's through an assessment process that's regular and regulated by the state of Michigan. In the case of the old Mission Drainage District in Peninsula Township, the damage was so significant that the fund balance for maintenance of that drainage district was rendered in deficit, and that borrowing is going to have to occur to bring the fund balance back to zero. So that's a consequence in every district. They have needed some work and administration for some time, and it's going to get done. And there'll be a lot of public engagement in that process. Because most people don't know that they live in a drainage district. It doesn't appear on your deed. And that's something I'm going to look at changing. Pardon?
We did pay for half that.
You haven't been invoiced yet.
We haven't been
You
invoiced.
committed to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The road commission committed to half of that cost to get that drain back up to
And with-
zero, I guess.
Yes, with half the cost absorbed graciously by the road commission, the old Mission Drainage District will still be in deficit.
Thank you, Andy. Any questions for Andy? Comments? And then Ashley, our county commission
I think
representative?
pretty much everything, I was going to touch on everything that was already shared, so
About dams yesterday?
I learned a lot, and also like, whew, there's a lot. There's a lot. Always more to learn. But that was helpful. If anybody is interested, Andy put together a great presentation for us, really good overview, and it's in our county board packet this week. Want to learn more about this whole situation.
Yeah, the county owns 2 dams still. There was 4 at one time. 2 have been decommissioned. 2 remain, and they control lake levels on Silver Lake and Duck Lake. And one of the more subtle findings from the presentation yesterday is that even if you don't live on Duck Lake or Silver Lake and you live in the county, you're paying for the lake level control on those lakes. Since Duck Lake, since 1960, there's been no assessment for operations. It's all been general fund expenditure.
All right. I think that kind of wraps that up. Going to move over and director's report, John?
Yes, so we've got a number of things that I'll talk through here, but first I'm going to ask Kara to give us an update on a couple of things here. Pretty exciting stuff in the last day or so.
He asked me a couple seconds ago if he could put me on the spot, and I said, yeah, sure. So if I miss anything, tell me what else you wanted me to
I got
say.
you. I'll cover you.
So a couple exciting things happening out at Camp Greilich. It's a busy month out there. We've got a lot of activity, but I'm really excited to report that the mud kitchen that was high on the Woodland Schools list is up and running. It has a couple of finishing touches needed, but Mark, our caretaker's done just a phenomenal job. If you get a chance to go out there and take a look, or if you know small humans that want to take a look too, it's a really neat place. So that is great because it's in time for the Fairy Garden build that's happening this upcoming Saturday. And AmeriCorps NCCC, as part of their final day's work out there, set up kind of this fairy ring in the Fairy Garden area, and Ranger Amanda has all sorts of materials prepped. So the village will be populated this weekend with fairy garden houses, which is pretty cool. And then the last thing is sort of hot off the press. This afternoon, we found out that we were awarded a $20,000 grant from the Olson Foundation for part of our accessibility work at Camp Greilich. So if you remember, that's making sure that everybody can get to all corners of the park. And there's a couple of components, one of which is a track chair that individuals would be able to drive. But the piece that this grant will fund is a wheelchair accessible shuttle, so that folks will be able to eventually get to North Sky Raptor Sanctuary or to the bowl or to the foosball area, even if they have mobility challenges. So we're really excited about that. We'll be reaching out likely to Friends of Sleeping Bear Dunes to see how they do their program that's similar, and kind of copy and paste some best practices with that. And we'll be shopping for our shuttle, so we'll keep you updated on that. What I miss?
No, you got it. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
So Kara wrote the grant and managed the process and continue to work with the Olson Foundation on that one. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, we'll keep at it till we get the track chair as well.
That's right. We had an opportunity this week to take a look at our capital planning, and we do that on a regular basis. But now we're really trying to get to our capital planning on a 5-year basis. And so that would give us, not only from the parks standpoint, but the facility standpoint, and give us the opportunity to have a better long-range view, and make sure that we're sequencing things properly, so you don't end up in a situation where we're having to undo something previous. And that's also giving us an opportunity to look at what are the needs versus the nice to haves, and be able to sequence those. So as we were doing that, I don't know where I was going with that.
I'm not sure.
It had something to do with, I'll remember again in here in just a little bit, but yeah. Olson Grant, Mud Kitchen, so thank you for that. I put something up on the screen here because it was mentioned when Joe was speaking, and I just wanted to make sure we refresh everybody's memory with this. So this is the roundabout is right in the center. Now, when this picture, it doesn't actually have a roundabout that shows there. It's an old picture. For some reason, my Google Maps doesn't believe there's a roundabout there. But just imagine there's a roundabout in that center spot where all those 3 roads come together. So there's a 4th leg off that roundabout. That 4th leg doesn't go anywhere today. So one of the parts of this plan is to take that 4th leg and extend that by adding a driveway that would continue along that blue line and go north into Olson Bridge Trailhead. The idea there is to close off the entrance onto Keystone so people will be able to access Olson Bridge Trailhead only from that roundabout. So it creates a safer access point through that driveway. Second, if you go down to the bottom, you'll see the yellow line. And if you look at Keystone Rapids Trailhead and Beitner Canoe Launch, those two, Beitner Canoe Launch and Keystone Rapids, both have entrances on Beitner Road. And that's a challenge with people froggering across the road at times. And so we've talked about this previously. The idea is to close off those 2 entrances. There's, in fact, closing the Keystone Rapids Trailhead altogether, or I should say the parking lot for the Keystone Rapids Trailhead, and then also closing the entrance off Beitner Road to the Beitner Canoe Launch. And instead of accessing from Beitner Road, you would access coming down River Road, connecting to Seabrook, so over here on the side, connecting to Seabrook, and then there's a small bump out here. It's a turnaround that the vehicles used to turn around for snow plowing. And then we would add a driveway along the city-owned parcel right here, and then wrap into the park, basically backwards in effect. And so this section from about here, where my cursor is now, coming across to the river, and then following up to roughly the Olson Bridge area, and then following back across and straight down. That is city-owned property. So that's about 54.83 to be exact acres of city-owned land that fits within the entire Natural Education Reserve. So it's 54 acres within the 505-acre nature reserve, or Natural Education Reserve. So we received approval from the city to add that driveway along that yellow line and be able to have people come in there from the opposite direction. And then the third piece is the Boardman Ottaway River Trail. That trail currently runs
south past Olson Bridge Trailhead, pardon me, continues down, exits at, or would have exited at Keystone Rapids Trailhead, and then people would either ride their bikes or walk down Beitner Road until they got to Hoosier Valley Road. I had to think of the name though. And then they have to Frogger across Hoosier Valley Road. Sketchy place to go across. So the idea is instead to wrap the Boardman Ottawa River Trail to the Olson Bridge Trailhead, have that come down that blue driveway, and then cross at the south end of the roundabout, pick up that yellow line, or sorry, that red line, which is going to be a trail that will follow down past Beitner Park. And once you get past Beitner Park, that land is owned by the Grand Traverse Conservation District, and the Conservation District is going to run a trail through there that'll connect to Hoosier Valley Road. So it creates a safer connection for the Boardman Ottawa River Trail, and then gives us different ways to be able to access the park, safer entries to that park, as well as safer entries to the Olson Bridge Trailhead.
And I'm going to just add one thing.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we started to look at this option is because the new bridge will be significantly larger than what's there. It's a 3-lane bridge with 10-foot shoulders, is what I was told. That will allow the pedestrians to cross the bridge safely on the one side to continue up there. And we are still researching what kind of flashers and stuff we would need somewhere there along south of that roundabout to get people across, but we'll figure that out eventually. So I noticed the city has those ones that are run by solar. I kind of like those. We're trying to figure out where they got them, so.
Yes.
When I think of closing the Keystone Rapids Trailhead, I think it makes sense to avoid jumping across the road. However, in the summer, I think both of those parking lots are filled to the brim in terms of space being utilized. Is there an opportunity for us to increase the parking lot size at the Beitner launch area now or in the future?
There is possibility. So there's land behind, pardon me, to the south of that parking lot, so you could extend that parking lot a little bit further if necessary.
How many? It's not many. How many parking spots do you
I'm
guess
going to say
are on
20 parking
the
spots
Keystone Trailhead side?
at most.
Yeah. I'm
It's,
surprised.
it's a 5-acre parcel with a little bit on the Keystone Rapid Trailhead side.
Okay.
But we do anticipate that the bridge is going to significantly change that area, so getting on and off from there is going to be extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
So would that trail that currently, goes along the river there through that area, that section of trail, I know part of it's washed
through
out
here.
now. Yeah.
So
Is
we-
that going to be closed, or is this going to be?
No, we would continue that trail. We needed to do some rerouting due to washout.
Yeah.
But we would continue to have trails down there, so people could go to the Olson Bridge Trailhead. They could basically explore that trail network, and then come back up through Olson Bridge Trailhead. We do still want to preserve access to the river. It's a beautiful area, so we want to make sure people can still use that.
Right. There just wouldn't be from the south end where the trailhead is now.
Right.
It wouldn't really be a trailhead anymore. It would just
Correct.
sort of be an end of a trail.
Correct.
Probably removal of kind of that parking lot, maybe some of
Yes.
that asphalt that's there, and
Yes.
turning it back into more just a
Yeah.
trail, is that?
Pushing people back up to the actual crosswalk. So,
My only concern with that is just human activity. People will continue on there, whether there's a trailhead or parking lot or not.
Yes.
So I think we need to plan for that and know that that's like having a dead-end trail and then expecting people really to turn around is kind of ridiculous.
So we would
I
look
don't
at
see it
rerouting
go.
some of the trail, so it doesn't dead end quite at that same spot.
Okay.
But yes, that is certainly a consideration. We know that in any park situation, you've got social trails that develop. People will go where they want to go. So we want to make sure that we set up safe environments.
No way to put a trail underneath that new Beitner Bridge?
quite honestly, we looked at that. The cost was tremendous.
Yeah. I
It's
figured.
it's what we call a federal aid project, which means once they approve what you're going to do, if you want to do anything additional, you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
So then the cost was just too much.
I asked that question as well the first time this discussion came up, and kept going until we finally had to exhaust that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we looked at many options there.
Yeah.
That's been really talked about, so.
Yes. A couple of things, so thank you for the ad, Joe. At our last meeting, we talked a lot about signage, and we had an opportunity to go through the Board of Zoning Appeals. That was not successful for the IDC sign, so the sign with the messaging system. And so we went back to the designers and went back to our sign company, and they have been able to redesign that sign to allow both the electronic messaging system as well as the identification sign. So I do have a sample of that, which I will pull up here. So it gives us kind of the best of both worlds. So it fits into that size category, as well as allowing to have both of those two pieces with it.
Now, last time you heard iffiness on the electronic sign piece. Are you coming back to us to
So
reaffirm how
I'm
we
looking for
feel, or-
feedback with this
Okay.
one, knowing that it fits within the parameters.
Okay.
They're
That'd be-
okay with the roof too? I know that was
Yeah.
okay.
Well, let's talk about what we're putting on the sign. I think that always
Okay.
kind of helps
Sure.
think about what this is going to look like.
Right,
It's not
so-
a flashing billboard that's
No, so
rotating
it-
multiple times.
It can only change 3 times per day.
Mhm.
So it's not something that's going to be constantly rotating and constantly in your face. So 3 times per day. And what we would use that for is identification of activities that are happening on property. So Andrew gave some perfect examples of that. Boat show this weekend. You turn right on Fair Street, for example. So just as people are driving down, like, oh, boat show, how do I get in there? I turn right on Fair Street, and that'll allow them to wrap into the park from the south end. And the opposite side, we can put a different message on there. Boat show this weekend, turn left on Garfield, and that would allow them to get in as well. So just some directionals as well as what's happening in the park is kind of what we'd be focused on with this.
Andrew mentioned in some cases, he could double the show, like he could have 2, if I understood correctly. So for me, his example of I-75 and Birch Run is not, it runs counter to him also saying we're a special place up north. And I wouldn't want the Civic Center to be an I-75 like, I don't want to view I-75 in front of the Civic Center.
Sure.
And if we're not having a difficult time attracting or marketing events, because the current marketing is going so well that we could double the show without such marketing, I'm still not fully convinced that an electronic sign is absolutely necessary. Now, that's just personal opinion from me driving past the Civic Center and now hearing that we're not having any trouble attracting visitors. But I do want to say I appreciate that it's a little bit smaller and it captures, what you were working through last month with below that Civic Center sign, something that was, sharing that these events were taking place. What you've come back to us with, and I appreciate, is that you've captured that and it's a little bit smaller, but it doesn't look like it's going to be as distracting as the larger sign was before.
I'll chip in and say I like the idea of the electronic sign and just being able to help raise awareness of things that are going on at the Civic Center, regardless of what they are. I think a lot of times people also will forget that there are things. I think if there wasn't a whole, lack of terms, a boatload of boats sitting out all over the place in front of the Civic Center, you drive by, you wouldn't know there's a boat show unless maybe you caught it on some social media stuff that they did, or maybe an ad on the radio. But then you go, oh, it must be the boat show, because I just see a whole bunch of boats. Or the little sign, the sign would say, hey, boat show this weekend. But also things like the Senior Expo, helping get some more, the word out on whether it's the Senior Expo or the Empty Bowls food event that goes on and things like that, that maybe someone said, oh, I forgot that's today. I'm going to go because I saw it on that thing. So I think that I like it.
One of the things that we do hear from people is that they aren't really sure how to get into the park because there's only 2 entrances and neither of those entrances are off months. And so that directional is one of the things that we think can add value in this case.
One thing I feel is missing from the other one is we don't have as much signage space because of needing to squeeze in the EMC here. And what I liked previously was that there was those slots for
The
what
panels on
else
the
is
bottom.
going on in here. You know, it lists Howe Arena on center ice. It lists Norte. It lists the amphitheater maybe. And would that be something that we would put on this billboard as well, do you anticipate? Because for me, that is more about truly at the heart of the park is these are our partners in the park. You might be coming here to see one of these already. And it reminds people of all that's going on in the Civic Center. Whereas maybe that's the intent, maybe it's not of the EMC. Second question, while I got you, is we've talked about revenue generation at times from this billboard. We don't always need to chase that. I don't think that's always our objective. But what would you anticipate that being based on market rates, based on interest that you've seen for those?
I've not checked the numbers yet to see what that would be. Do I believe that we could raise some revenue from it? Yes. Is that the number one driver behind it?
No.
It's not. But there is a revenue opportunity with something like this.
And in terms
knowing
of
that it's only going to change at most 3 times a day, and in many cases less than that. It's not. It wouldn't attract or wouldn't give us a play for a lot of different things. It'd be like one thing that's happening.
do you think that, back to listening to partners, is that something that you would anticipate also having on this? Is a list of, here's Howe Arena, here's Norte, here's that?
So when we don't have an event,
Yeah.
we'd put things like that on there.
Okay. And
One thing that you do lose with this, as you mentioned, my apologies for cutting you off here, is you mentioned along the bottom here, with the other versions of the sign, there were some other gold panels.
Right.
And so those gold panels would be permanent and say Easling Pool, Howe Arena, these sorts of things. So there's certainly value to that. And that's one of the things that I'm looking for is what do we think adds more value? Does it add more value to re-include those gold panels and take off the electronic messaging center or without?
And final thing I have, on here is, which gets me a little iffy about the electronic sign is, walking the Civic Center at night. It's a great opportunity for a lot of people in town. Doesn't feel maybe as much of like a park when you're walking past a big neon billboard, so to speak, that is advertising what's going on in the park. So I assume we wouldn't necessarily have, I guess, in terms of ordinance, there's not restrictions on times of day, for example.
No.
Okay.
But we
course
could
we could.
choose to do that.
Yes.
John, thank you. I don't love electronic signs, but there is value to this. I think the 2x8 is a nice compromise. When I'm picturing 2x8, it's really not that big.
How much bigger than this TV?
Yeah, exactly. And I do think as long as we lose all the other signage, I think that's, to me, if the boat show is also going to have the cheesy banner and all those other little signs, then no, right? To me, that's just, it looks kind of trashy.
Okay.
But if we're going to replace it with this, and it says boat show, and there's not also a giant banner and other little yard signs, 50 little yard signs, that looks so trashy driving or walking by. So I haven't heard the confirmation on that, because I know they want all the exposure they can get, but
Yeah.
I also feel like if it's too much going on, you don't really see anything.
Okay. Good feedback. Thank you. And we're not, sold on this. That's why I wanted to come and get additional feedback and see where we end up with this.
I like it because I know when you want to put a message out, it's the easiest way to do it. I mean, if you don't have an electronic sign, you are going to have cheesy banners if you don't have an electronic sign.
Well, that's it. I'm like, this will clean it up if we also don't allow all that other
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah, I don't
to
know what the
be there.
rules or regs on that, but I just know that if you want to, the TSO still doing their concert in the park.
Yeah.
TSO
TC Phil.
concert in the park tonight.
TC Phil.
TCO, whatever it is, concert in the park. It used to be Northwestern Michigan Symphony when I was associated with them. So I think it's a wonderful thing to do. I just know that trying to get a message out and the fact you're going to limit it should take some of the criticism away. It's not like with one of these 60-second signs that you see on the side of the road.
Right.
So
Right. No blinking.
yeah.
John, I really listen, and I think I like the idea that we can get that message out. I like the idea that it's, yes, it could change 3 times a day, but if we put some thought behind it, you know, we can advertise even some of the, you know, swim lessons or the pool or other things in some of those off hours when we don't. I think we think immediately for the shows, but they're only on weekends in certain weeks.
Right.
So where this may give us a way to actually take some of our partners, Norte, some of the events, Senior Center, Dream Team, some of those that don't have a lot of money, but we can help that a little bit. As far as the revenue, I think if we could raise that revenue and just keep this sign pristine, I mean, none of that, you know, you drive by some of these electronic signs and they work halfway and they're flickering, and, you know, if we did do revenue, you know, it's not gonna support our whole park, but, you know, get rid of the cheesy signs, say, no, you can't have them. We don't have to hang that big banner on the end of the building anymore, but we have a nice, really sharp sign, maybe not huge, but out there. I'm kind of for it, so that's my input. I just think we could, you know, there's a lot of hours in a day that you could advertise some of the things that are going on. You know, this weekend is, you know, the arts fair or something, just simpler stuff. So that's my comment.
It's on both sides.
Both sides, yes. Okay. I see you wanted Mr. Blowy Man.
Yes.
Oh, those
He
are great. Well, crazy signs and hands.
like
One quick thing, I
Yes.
guess, a little bit question related, I guess, in regards to the sign a little bit, especially as we get like more towards evening hours. Are we able to control the brightness of that thing?
That would be nice.
I would imagine so, yeah. I haven't checked into
Is
that part of it yet,
that's
but I
a
imagine.
concern that I think myself and probably a lot of other people maybe have some light sensitivity when night driving. And if, you know, I'm headed east on Munson, and it could be, you know, maybe a little bit much for some drivers. If I don't know if there's a way, you know, once we get to like a sunset, if you can kind of like power it down a little bit so it's not as like blinding.
Yeah, I would imagine
think
you could
that'd
do
be a-
that, or just you change the message and you put a different message on there that has a different intensity.
Like all black lights, so you can't, it's like not on.
That's just off.
Is it more like?
But just, yeah, but just like a lower, yeah, some sort of, not, because you know, you see some of those electronic
Sure.
billboards at night and they are bright.
Yeah,
And I don't think that's something that we want to convey that either.
agreed.
And you're making me think, Jamie, that the billboard that is where the bear is on
Yeah.
3 Mile, I mean, that is that is not an obtrusive sign, actually. Is it more like that, where like you're going to have an advertisement that's just,
There's one there.
Big 75
Right
foot.
up by the
well,
bear.
no, it's not that
Yeah,
big,
the
but
bear.
I'm
Down
talking
3
that
Mile and-
Jamie's making me think of,
Or 3
you know,
Mile
the
and
brightness, the lights, the
31,
flicker.
whatever.
Yeah.
That is just,
I didn't even
that's
Right
realize.
up behind the bear, kind of, when you're.
that's just a flat sign, and you really, it isn't something that is as distracting, to be honest with
It's
you.
just like the digital billboards
Yeah.
instead of the
Yeah.
printed.
Yeah,
It's-
I didn't even know there was one there.
It's
It's-
going
There is
west.
one.
It hasn't caught my
It's
attention to the
that
point where
natural.
it was obnoxious, so that's why I
And
was,
it's right there by
Right.
the bear, right?
And I-
okay.
You don't want to go to your
I think it's
free
just
That's
some-
what I was kind of leading to.
Just the
is
light
keeping it
choice.
really kind
Yeah, I
of
think-
classy.
I do think that those signs are, if that's what this is, because in my brain, I'm thinking more of what's along I-75 Birch Run.
Pixelated.
No.
Pixelated and very.
Or even on South Airport.
Yes, so you know, if it's more like that one, then
Yeah.
maybe that
I
is.
mean, we're talking 2 feet high.
It's just smaller,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
I know what you mean about the look of it, though. It doesn't look unlike another kind of a billboard.
Right.
It's not like
Got it.
super bright.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But it communicates good information.
Right.
You know, I know what's
Absolutely.
happening at Crystal Mountain, because I
Sales
drive
at
by
Meyer.
there every day, you know, so I know how much eggs are at
Right.
Meyer. You know.
How much are they?
Right.
I do still need to check some things with the city to make sure that it truly does conform, but
Yeah.
I appreciate the feedback. We just got this one
And I
back.
think maybe, you know, keep working down the path. I mean, let's kind of explore it more, maybe even some type of demo or, you know, or some type of video, you know, give us an idea what it would look like. Maybe they can
Okay.
do that.
Sure. One of the, you have something to add?
I can add, so
Yeah.
the one that we were originally specking out with the contractor, the Precision Plumbing that's at the old Beta location, that is a 2x8 sign from the same company. I don't know if it's the
Oh,
exact
okay.
same model that we're intending to use, but we had asked some of these questions way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
At
was
Cass there.
Cass and.
Cass.
yeah.
And South
South
Airport
Cass
there,
and South
yeah.
Airport, okay.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one's
Yeah.
that's not bad at all. I know that sign, it's pretty new. yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to point out one other, and so we've been debating a couple different designs here. So our trailhead identification signs, we've got two different versions here. And so the larger version that you see here has Vasa and then trailhead underneath it in smaller letters.
He looks offended.
Like what?
Trying to show the height of a person.
I know.
Where's
my
the
God.
electronic sign?
That's what he's
Oh,
asking.
out there,
That's what he's
yeah.
saying.
Where's
John,
the
you set
electronic
us up.
portion?
Right in the neighborhood.
So, thanks for the fun. So Vasa with trailhead underneath it, so smaller letters there, or Vasa trailhead, so larger letters in this case. I'm curious with your feedback, without letting you know what we preferred.
Vasa Trail had one line.
One
I
line.
agree.
I agree.
I agree.
100%.
All right, that was unanimous in our office as well. Just wanted to
Excellent.
see if there's anything different.
Well,
So,
That's what you're telling us now.
what's that?
That's what you're saying now.
and I think
No,
that's what
am I
everybody
right?
knows it
That's our
by.
story.
Yeah.
Right, that's our story. Yep, so we
Hence
were
the
all.
guy looking at this one, that is
Although,
not the
yeah,
one.
he kind of threw me off. thinking,
Maybe that's what he's saying. It's like, this one's so much better.
All right.
Thanks,
All right, I've got a couple of other things that I'll run through real quick. So thank you very much for that. South building progress, so foundation block is in, and above grade block is scheduled for the week of June 22nd. We do have an RFP that's going out on Monday for a mural, and so that mural is going to be on the west side of the building, and so Kara's been working on that, has the RFP prepared, and then has a plan for this weekend to scout some other murals in the area and find artists who've done murals in the area and be able to encourage them to engage in the process. Medali Park paving was completed, so we're pleased to see that one done. Skate park repairs have been completed as well. So
good.
that went well. And so we now have a safer surface. We've basically put concrete in the coping, which is at the top of many of the elements. We've replaced some spalling concrete in those areas as well as a number of other areas. So happy to see that. NER Overlook structures, we've got Mini-Mac, Sabin South, and Jack's Footbridge, which we've been talking about for a while. That was approved at our last meeting. We've since worked with Power Construction, who was awarded that contract. They will begin that work on July 6th, and they're going to start with Sabin South, and then they'll move up to Jack's Footbridge and then come back to the one in the middle, Mini-Mac. And then Ferry Garden Building, as Kara had mentioned earlier, June 13th, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at Camp Graddock. So we encourage everybody to come on out and enjoy the fun. And then we got another fun activity that's happening. Family Fun Day is at Camp Graddock, and that is a program in partnership with the Kingsley Branch Library. They've got some really cool things going with this. It's going to be quite the event, and that's going to be 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock on June 18th.
John, what's the budget for the mural?
So we don't have a budget. It's sort of an open request for proposals. We think that potentially could be in the ballpark of 5. We don't quite honestly know, but it's sort of an open-ended.
I would encourage you, I used to be on the Traverse City Arts Commission, and there's a nice, it's not a listserv. Are there listservs still? But it's an email list anyway of artists. I would encourage you to share it with them, to share out to their network once you have the RFP, and they could share it out on their social media and their listserv or email list, whatever you call it too.
Thank you.
Along those lines, I would just also ask that you engage with NMC, TCAPS, and any other local youth agencies just to make sure that they have the opportunity to provide their submissions as well.
Good. Thank you.
John, driving by the south building, there are pipes. Is that a different, that must be a different project, like a city
Oh,
sewer or
So
water
the
project?
Miller Pipeline, so they're
Okay.
doing projects around the city,
Right.
and so they had asked to store some Actually, they'd asked, can we store some equipment? That turned
Okay.
into much more equipment than we ever expected.
Yeah,
So I've already talked to them and said,
Okay.
when you vacate and we power up our irrigation system, I will be coming to find them.
great.
Oh, thank you. I was very
Yeah.
confused on those pipes.
Yeah, I was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lesson for me. Can we store a couple pieces of equipment and some pipes?
yeah,
Uh,
there's a lot of pipes there.
Help me understand the scale of what you're asking for.
Right.
How much square footage?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I did say that we have some sensitive stuff under the ground there and that
Yeah.
they could store that, but if they are, store what they had initially asked for. But I need to make sure I do a better job in the future of asking, how much are you talking about?
Yeah, I thought it was somehow connected to the South Building project, and
No.
I thought, wow, this is a lot more involved than I thought it was.
All this piping.
Exteriors.
That's not
All
on
this
our-
piping, where's this
I
pipe
thought it was
going?
concrete exterior.
We're driving
Going-
that 16
Quite
feet
the
down.
bathroom.
Yeah, some
And
of it's
that's-
going under 8th Street.
Okay.
John, and that's sitting on top of our new irrigation system, is that right?
It's next to it, but they've had to drive up there. So they've already agreed, yes, we will put it back to its original condition.
Make sure every
Thanks.
head's square.
Every head, yes.
Yep.
Blade of grass.
We will make certain of it.
Regrass,
Yep.
make it a football field.
That's what I've got.
Thank you, John.
Great. Any other questions? So let's move on down. No old business, no new business, no second public comment. There's no one here. Notices and commissioners' comments. Jalen, you got your hand up.
Don't I always? I know previously we mentioned finalizing what our date for the next meeting was going to be. Currently, we're scheduled, I bet that's what John's taking care of now. Currently, we're scheduled for the Thursday during Cherry Festival. The fact that there is a parade downtown makes that wildly impossible for us on that date. So, curious to hear if we're moving or canceling.
So, yep, well, let's cancel. And so that is the Community Royal Parade.
It sure is.
And there may
Royale.
be Royale.
Yes.
You haven't been here long enough, but Royale.
With cheese.
is-
So if you say,
Royale.
so Isle Royal National Park, it has an E on the end.
Yep.
If you say Royale, you're like, okay, but in this case, you have to pronounce it Royale.
Cherry
got it.
Royale.
Okay.
Yes.
is a different state.
That's true.
What's that? The UP is a different state. There we go.
Superior state going on.
All right.
Different language, too.
So yes, we can go ahead and cancel that. So it is the Cherry Community Royale Parade. And if you recall, not everybody will remember this, but the Meyer House, when
On
we
Keystone.
purchased the Meyer House on Keystone, that came with a number of pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
One of those things was a 1957 Chevy.
Mhm.
It's been in the barn for 24 years. It's now out of the barn.
Wow.
It's being
Cool.
worked on, and that very well make its appearance at the
Nice.
parade.
How many,
It's a beautiful
how many
car.
parts?
It is
orgs own
amazing.
that?
Phenomenal.
On a 57 Chevy.
It literally looks like it rolled off the assembly line. It has 16,000 miles on it, and it's in perfect condition.
Are you going to be
That's
driving
exciting.
it, John?
We'll figure that out.
That's a station wagon, too.
It is a wagon.
It is a wagon.
57 wagon, baby blue and
It's
white.
crazy nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Stunning that it was in there.
So look for that, and more to come.
Yeah, we had the title.
Yeah.
Surely our municipal insurance increased because of that.
It actually had a 1957 plate on it, and they're plating that. They're actually going to reuse that same plate.
Oh, cool.
Perfect.
That's
Sweet.
cool.
So it's in its finishing stages right now of work. Didn't have a tremendous amount of work. The shop was surprised. They were like, this is in really good shape for not having run in 24 years. And obviously tires and that sort of stuff was replaced, and water pump, fuel pump, rear differential leak, and a couple of other things. But I've been there. They've started it up. We'll put the finishing touches on it, detail it, and ready to go.
Well, we all
Purrs like a
expect to
kitten.
ride.
All right.
Absolutely, right? You can take us on a little cruise.
We'll need
All
to
right.
officially tour and investigate
Yeah,
the.
It's worth it.
We
And
will.
how are we gonna make that Grand Traverse County Parks on the side of that car? Are we having, if it's gonna be in the parade, it's gotta
about an
be not
electronic
just Grand
display?
Traverse County, but parks.
There's nothing electronic in that car.
No, you can have one right at the top.
More to come.
All right. With that, any other comments? We are adjourned at 6:58.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you all.
You'll have to speak with Haggerty and get a piece in their.
I was gonna say.